guys, and thank you for joining me. This is going to be my week 1 budget check-in. So if you didn't see how I set up my budget planner, you can go back and look at my previous budget videos. I have my February budget setup and then my February budget video where I go over these two portions where I break down, what's due, how it's due, the layout of my budget planner, and then writing down our actual budget. This video, what I'm going to be focusing on is my weekly check-in for week 1. So I'll be putting those numbers in there. As I'm here, I'm realizing I do have this income tracker and sinking funds tracker. And so I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fill those up real fast. For here, I do have my general, what we are going to get paid overall in my budget, but here I'm going to be tracking by paycheck so that I can see what the actual amounts are, just so I can get an idea for the trend of our pays. Most of ours are the same. Mine is typically always the same. His VA check is typically always the same. It's his actual work check that varies more based on, how many hours he works and stuff. So I do want to track them all. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and write down all of our paychecks that we expect for this month, where they're going to be coming from, and then I'll fill out amounts and descriptions later. But I figured since I'm here, I might as well fill this out because I noticed it was empty, and it'll be good to see that. And I mean, it'll be good for checking in. I won't actually fill out these amounts in this video because I like to keep our income to ourselves, our specific income amounts to ourselves. But these paychecks will hit weekly, so I mean, mine particularly hit weekly, so it'll be good to track those as I go. So I guess since it's week 1, I'll only track the first checks. So our first check happened on the 1st, and that was his VA check. And then I'll leave the description and the amount empty. Our second check was also on the 1st, and that was also a VA, but that was back pay. And that was because when we had our son, my husband hadn't, we were waiting for the social security number, so we hadn't been able to put him on. So we finally put him on, and so they were able to pay us back all the money that we should have been getting with him being on there. So that was a back pay amount. So that was an additional check, and I can write that amount later. But that's another check that we got. And then I got paid on the 4th. And so this is my income. And then don't really need to do a description. I mean, this is just my pay, and then I'll put them out later. So those, for the first week checking in, those are the first paychecks that we have already seen for this month. Sinking funds, there isn't really much to put on this, so I'll go ahead and put them right now. No, I'm gonna leave that empty. I have planned for a separate sinking funds video, so I'm not going to fill that out. So I'm just going to leave this empty. But week 1 check-in so far are the paychecks that we've gotten. So we've gotten these three paychecks. As far as the actual check-in itself, the categories that we are tracking for our weekly check-ins are gas, it's food, and it's cheer expenses. So if you watched my videos the past months, you know that we had a lot more envelopes and a lot more that we were spending. But we've been on this, wanting to pay off debt, wanting to take care of our finances and stuff. But we really me particularly started getting a lot into Dave Ramsey. I've been listening to his highlights on YouTube constantly, all day, all the time, just listening to it. I mean, sometimes I'm working, so it's not like I'm in debt, just staring at it, but I'm listening to it in the background, and a lot of it's just really starting to resonate with me and really inspire me. And so me and my husband have been having all these kinds of conversations regarding our budget and our plan going forward, which is why these videos are a little bit later. I should have posted this check-in on Thursday. And then, I should have had my budget laid out since before the month even started. But we've been having a lot of discussions and trying to figure out how we want to do things and what our plans are. And so our goal is to get out of debt. We have a good chunk amount of debt that we owe. And so we want to get rid of that. And so because of that, we really want to rein in the amount of spending that we're doing, because me and him, we're just really big spenders. We've always had this kind of mentality in money, is that like, you know, money goes, money comes. Like you'll always be able to make and find more money, and which is true. And we still kind of think that, but since we kind of have a lot of debt, specifically in student loans, and we want to get rid of those, we don't want those hanging over our heads anymore. That way, when we do have our income and we are really, you know, just, you know, spending because we like to spend, we know that no one can like hang over our heads that we owe them money. And so we really just want to get out of debt. And so because of that, there's like extra categories that we had that we're just cutting on. So we're just kind of like cutthroat stopping a lot of that extra spending. So we're reining in on how much we're spending. So, you know, Dave Ramsey says it all the time, you know, live like no one else so you can live like no one else. And that's kind of the mentality that we're trying to keep right now. We don't know how that's going to end up, you know, working and playing out, but there's a bunch of things that we've been fixing. So as far as like eating out and stuff, we've been spending a lot of money eating out, you know, the past, like our lives, like all the time. We always spend a lot of money eating out, and we don't want to do that anymore. So we've been cooking a lot more, and honestly, we've been enjoying the food a lot better. So that's one thing we cut out. A lot of extra spending on like goods and stuff like that. Like we don't need any stuff. I mean, our house is pretty full. So honestly, we've been doing the opposite lately. We've been going through and we've been getting rid of stuff and selling stuff, you know, to bring in more money. So instead of spending money to buy more stuff that we don't need, we've been getting rid of stuff that we aren't using and don't need and spending it so we can make more income. So that's kind of what we've been doing. So basically, at the end of the day, it turns out that our cash envelopes are a lot shorter. We're budgeting for gas for our vehicles that we need. We're budgeting for food, which is like groceries. And then we're budgeting for cheer expenses. So cheer expenses is something, cheer expenses is something that probably does not go in the Dave Ramsey plan at all, because the amount we pay is honestly probably ridiculous. And he would probably say like, why are you spending on that when you can throw it towards your debts? But, you know, we had to sit and evaluate as a family, you know, what we valued. And what we do value is our daughters enjoying their time in cheer, learning, getting the experiences that they've been getting. And so we don't really want to get rid of that. And so in order to keep that, that is why we cut down in so many other categories to kind of balance it out. So we ended up with just the money, though. We do need to plan for cheer expenses because we know that we're going to go to competitions and we're going to spend money trying to get into the competitions. And so this week so far, so this is, I think today is the 4th. Is it Friday? Yeah, today is the 4th. So this past week, we have not spent anything. So in our spent amount, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to put 0 because we haven't spent anything. So remaining will be the total balance that we put in for this month. And so for gas, we put $350 is what we have budgeted. And so that'll be what's remaining. For food, we put $600. That's how much we plan to spend for the month. So we have our $600. And then for cheer expenses, we budgeted $200. And so those are for, so I do have my sinking funds where I put for travel during this week because this month, because we will be traveling this month for cheer. But any of those expenses that will happen out of town, those are included in my sinking funds. This is just for the local competition. So we do have a competition this weekend that we'll have to pay for. And then we have another one in 2 weekends that we also had to pay for. So that'll be this. The money, the cheer expenses that are spent during out of town competition, we have a separate fund for that. This is just all for local competitions. So because of that, now that I have the amounts that we put in, we have remaining per the week. And so right now we have 3 weeks left in the month because we just finished up the first week. So if we do this number divided by 3, we end up having $116.67 left over for gas. We end up having $200 a week left over for gas. So I'm saying that wrong. This is what we have left over, the $600, $350, $200. This is how much we have per week. So we're averaging out what we would have per week. That way we know each week the amount that we should be spending. And then for cheer expenses, I'm not going to put a weekly amount. So I'm just going to go ahead and put NA there. And the reason I'm doing that is because this is not weekly. It's not that there's weekly cheer competitions. It's just there's competitions within the month. So it makes no sense to break this down weekly. So for there, I'm just going to put NA. But since it is in the envelope and we are tracking it, that's why I have it in my weekly check-in. There wasn't a lot going on this month or this week so far. You know, the week just started, and then weather came in, and we've been in snow day for the past couple of days. So we have not been spending money at all, because we've been snowed in and we've been at the house. So it's just eating here and, you know, doing stuff at the house. We're not spending any money. This is why there's kind of like no activity here. But for next week, I already know that there's going to be expenses because we have a cheer competition in a couple of days. And then obviously we'll have to be buying groceries and stuff within that. So when I do check in for week 2, the way it'll work is I'll have the transactions tracked in my monthly, and then I'll go through and calculate what I wasted in each category, subtract it, and then find out what I have left. So this one wasn't as involved, but because since we are snowed in and it's the beginning of the month, we haven't been spending anything. So this is really where we stand right now. And so, I mean, it's a good thing that we're snowed in. We're not spending money, but for video purposes, there's not much else to share with you. But at least you have an idea of how I'm breaking it down for the month. And then you can see the way I kind of have things laid out. So yep, if you haven't already, don't forget to hit subscribe. My other weekly check-ins will be a little bit more involved. There'll be a lot more going on, so that way you can see how I'm handling that. And then you can also see I have a sinking fund video that will be coming up. And I also have a debt payoff video that I am doing as well. Like I mentioned, we're focusing on debt payoff. So I have a whole video dedicated to that that will be coming up. So you don't want to miss it. So go ahead and don't forget to hit subscribe. Head on over to my Etsy shop so you can see the kits that I have available. My Etsy shop is Plan with Soto, so you can go check out what I have available on the site right now. And if you haven't already, you can head on over to Instagram and follow me at Plan with Soto, so you can kind of see a little bit more daily what I do. In case you can't wait for the videos to come up, you can kind of see what my planner is looking like before that. Share on the comments how your guys' week going so far as your budget is concerned. Are any of you snowed in like us? So how does that impact your guys' finances, and how are things looking so far? If you're not snowed in, what kind of week was it? Was it one of those weeks where you're wasting a lot and you're like, oh man, I don't have so much left over? Or are you guys doing great and your budget is really spot on for what you need monthly? Let me know in the comments, and let me know any ideas that you guys have of maybe different ways that I could be doing this. You know, I'm always open for new suggestions, because I'm at the phase in my budget where I like to experiment and change things around so I can kind of figure out what works best for me. So it was like hearing ideas and seeing suggestions from other people to see if those things would actually benefit us. So yeah, don't forget to comment if you have any other suggestions. Other than that, thank you guys for joining me today, and until next time, bye guys.